Good morning. Today we're going to look at Genesis 28, 29, and 30. Yesterday we finished as with a little bit about Esau. We didn't finish Esau, but uh, Jacob had stolen Esau's blessing, and Esau was hurt, and Jacob has fled from Esau. He was in hiding to some extent, but then Isaac, dad, calls Jacob back in chapter 28. He blesses him and he says, I don't want you to take a wife from, these local people. I want you to go back and to your mother's, father Laban's place and, from my people. And so Jacob is sent away by Isaac, and he goes to Laban, the son of Bethuel, and the brother of Rebekah, who is Jacob's mother that way. And um, and then we have this little, that Esau marries Mahalath, who is one of Ishmael's daughters, uh, and so we have some more of that um, coming together of the animosity between Esau and Jacob, and which is going to translate onto Muslims and Jews and all of that stuff, all transferring or tracing their ancestry back to Abraham. So Jacob is on his way, and as he camps out one night to sleep, he um, has this dream of this ladder that is ascending, and the angels are ascending and descending on this ladder. And there's a song that we are climbing Jacob's ladder. But the reality is that Jacob didn't climb that ladder. The angels were ascending and descending, and the ladder was reached all the way from heaven. It came down from heaven to earth. It wasn't built up the other way, but God met with Jacob and had a conversation with Jacob there. Um, and Jacob sets up a rock to be a blessing place, a place of worship, and he gives thanks to God, and he makes a pledge to God on that altar. As this stone is a pillar shall be to God's house, all that I give you, I will give a tenth to you. So the tithing is talked about in there. And as Jacob continues on his journey to find Laban's place, he comes upon a well where they're watering sheep, and he asks there if he was getting close. And oh yeah, these shepherds knew Laban, and well, his daughter Rachel will be coming with sheep shortly, and we will roll the stone away, and we will, water the sheep. And so Rachel comes, and Jacob sees her and finds her quite beautiful, very attractive, and talks with her, and she runs back and tells her dad then that Jacob is coming, and he is Rebekah's son. And so Laban comes, and then we have the story of how Jacob wants to marry Rachel. And Laban, his father-in-law, he works 7 years and gets hoodwinked. He gets cheated, in the wedding vows, and Laban ends up providing his older daughter Leah, because Leah hasn't been married yet, and it's not right. And of course, Jacob, when he finds out, isn't pleased with that. So he ends up, agreeing to work another 7 years to marry Rachel, and these all things come about, and it's one of those things, in today's society, we don't marry 2 or 3 or 5 or women or anything that way, but things were different in these biblical days, but Rachel is barren, has no children, and Leah, because she isn't loved by Jacob. God blesses her womb, it says, and she has children. And then Rachel gets jealous and has her maid has Jacob sleep with her maid, and then have a couple children, and then this and that, and so the intrigue is there, and the the one being better than the other, and we read in here that Leah was looked so happy because she had had children for Jacob, and and Rachel didn't, and it's the intrigue is just almost it's more than I enjoy reading, for sure. But we end up we know that these children are going to end up being the 12 tribes of Israel, because Jacob, this one, after he had stolen his brother's birthright, Esau said, well, he's rightly named, Jacob, heel grabber, the cheater, the one that takes advantage and stuff. And but it works both ways, it seems, that everything doesn't go smoothly 100% of the time for Jacob either. And when we get into chapter 31, or we're looking at chapter 30, it's talking more about the children that Jacob has with Leah, and then with Rachel, and of course we know that Rachel's child, she names him Joseph, and and that just leads us on into another whole story that's going to come up, not today, but Jacob has been there with Laban for quite a few years, and he's married the two daughters, and they have quite a few children. Leah has borne him 6 sons and a daughter, Dinah. So it's he's been there for a few years with all of this happening, and then he says Jacob decides that it's time that he should go back to his father's place, and wants to take what is his with him, and then so the story comes on that Jacob says, well, you don't have to give me anything. If you'll do this, I will again keep and feed your flocks. Let me pass through your flock and remove from them all of the speckled and spotted sheep, and all of the brown ones among the lambs, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and these will be my wages. And sounds okay. Well, that could be quite a few sheep, quite a few goats, and all of that. And Laban says in verse 34, that would be according to your word. So that day he removed all of the male goats that were spotted and speckled, and the female goats that were this and that, and the lamb, and then boom, we think Laban's doing the sorting. But then it says he put 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And so did he. Is this a legitimate deal that Laban sorted and they're separated out so that theirs are Jacob's, or did he hide them? This is one of the things you wonder a little bit. But and then verse 37, Jacob kind of starts another deal. He says a couple of rods of green poplar and this and that, and puts them somehow so that when the sheep breed, then they aren't all white, and it's just some of the examples that we have of some of these people that God uses. You just wonder, well, they're just not being honest. They're just doing so many things wrong. But yet, they are God's chosen people, the Israelites. And, we just had, God had visited Jacob in the dream, and, he had promised in that dream, that he would have descendants as many as the sands, and it just, sometimes it doesn't seem like it's the way it should be, that God is using and blessing all of these people that seem to cheat each other, and have that lack of brotherly love, family concerns, and but yet through it all, we need to realize and remember that, or think maybe, how much different are we? Are we perfect? Absolutely not. Do we deserve God's love and grace? Absolutely not. But does God use us anyway? Absolutely. So on this day, may you realize and remember God's blessings and try your best to be your best.